Also coming back for us today is Liam McGuinn. He's got the press review. He's starting off with our top story. That news that Ukraine has indicated they are ready to accept a 30-day ceasefire with Russia. How's that been received then in the press in Ukraine, Liam?
We'll start with the Kyiv Post, Stuart, which is the oldest English language newspaper in Ukraine. They report that hardline Russians are rejecting any ceasefire proposal. One claimed that accepting the ceasefire would be pure betrayal and sabotage. The paper says the proposal has put Vladimir Putin in a bit of a quandary as he may not want to risk souring renewed US-Russian relations. Well, over in Russia, Moscow Komsomolets, one of the country's biggest papers, accused Ukraine of panicking after their drone attack on Moscow, saying they're scared of the consequences and possible retaliation from Russia. I'll bring you some analysis pieces from the rest of the world. This is The Guardian in the UK. They call it a dizzying turnaround with all eyes now on Russia. Less than 2 weeks, of course, since Trump and Zelensky had that rather public bust-up in the Oval Office. But suddenly now the ball is in Russia's court. The piece finishes by saying that the diplomatic momentum is now with Ukraine, though with the mercurial Donald Trump involved, it's hard to say for how long that will be. Finish with The Telegraph, who say that Vladimir Putin probably isn't laughing anymore. The message from the US to Russia: agree to a ceasefire or we will arm Ukrainians to the hilt and you will lose. This opinion piece believes that Donald Trump is gunning for a Nobel Peace Prize. He wants it as his legacy, with peace deals on the table in both Ukraine and Gaza. The piece notes that it won't be a perfect peace by any means, but the killing and the dying will stop.
Come about hope. Philippines for this next story. Former President Rodrigo Duterte arrested yesterday, being flown to The Hague, charged with crimes against humanity.
This is the Manila Bulletin, which is the country's most read English language newspaper. They have a photo of the ex-president on the front page, on that airplane on their front page, with a simple headline: Duterte flown to The Hague. They have a timeline of yesterday's events on their front page, from the ICC publishing that arrest warrant to Duterte being arrested on his return from Hong Kong and being put on that plane to the Netherlands. The Daily Inquiry, which is the country's paper of record, have the headline: from Tokang to The Hague. Tokang, the name given to Duterte's war on illegal drugs in the Philippines, a campaign which saw thousands killed and has now seen Duterte accused of crimes against humanity by the ICC. The New York Times have this piece saying that the arrest shows both the powers and the limitations of the ICC. While the arrest represents a significant victory for the International Criminal Court, it also shows the limits of the court's power, which has huge power in theory, but the court cannot carry out arrests on its own. It relies on the cooperation of national governments to execute its warrants, which leaves it at the mercy of domestic politics. Arresting Duterte was only possible because he's out of office and politically weakened. This piece makes the point that, by contrast, there is essentially no chance that ICC arrest warrants for Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu could ever be carried out.
Already had a bit of space on the programme, but you can never have enough space, can you? So a couple more stories for you, starting with the fact that Saturn apparently has more moons than first thought. Who'd have known it?
Yeah, good news, Stuart. We've got space for more space. As reported here by the New Scientist, Saturn has 128 moons, which brings the planet's total moons to a whopping 274. Sounds a bit greedy to me. Almost twice as many as all the other planets in the solar system combined. All the new moons measure between 2 and 4 kilometres in diameter, likely to have been formed hundreds of millions of years ago, even billions of years ago, in collisions between larger moons. They were going to be given names based on Norse gods in keeping with convention. But a bit of a problem with so many new moons, scientists are running out of Viking gods to choose from. Sticking with the space theme, the Times are reporting this morning that billionaire Richard Branson wants space flights to blast off from the UK. The Virgin Galactic boss says he wants British spaceports to launch tourist flights. The question remains, where in the UK would be appropriate? Well, the overwhelming answer is in the southwest of the country, in Cornwall, the country home to the only site in Britain with a licence for space launches. Since its first commercial space flight in 2023, Virgin Galactic has conducted 12 crewed flights. Their planes currently fly from New Mexico in the US, taking paying passengers to the edge of space Tickets do cost over €400,000, though, Stuart.
Wow.
So better get saving now.
OK, a little bit more expensive than Ryanair and EasyJet. They'll be doing it in a few years' time, though, I'm sure. Sport is to finish. Huge night in the Champions League. Woke me up just as I was going to sleep. PSG winning a thrilling encounter, though, against Liverpool on penalties.
Well, you know, it's been a big night of sport when it makes the front and the back pages. Makes the front of Le Parisien this morning. They call the penalty shootout victory pure joy. They've got a picture of goal scorer Ousmane Dembele on their front page. L'Équipe, the country's biggest sports newspaper, called the Paris players superheroes. Italian goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma was the hero in particular, saving 2 spot kicks to put his side into the quarterfinals. They focus on the goalkeeper inside the paper as well, giving him a 9 out of 10 rating for the match, calling him the king of Anfield. The British press, unsurprisingly, less triumphant, starting with The Telegraph. They say Liverpool manager Arne Slot's luck simply ran out. The Reds head coach bemoaning the fact that they finished top of the league phase and had to play one of the best sides in Europe so early in the competition. I'll finish with the Mail. Cop out their headline. They've got a photo of Darwin Núñez, one of 2 who missed his penalty in the shootout. Kind of compounds a miserable season for the Uruguayan. The papers tell us that PSG manager Luis Enrique finally has a side fit to conquer Europe after so many false dawns. This might be the year that Paris Saint-Germain finally become European champions for the first time. But I've got to say, maybe they're getting a little bit ahead of themselves. We're only into the quarter-final stage.
Exactly.
But it looks like they'll be playing English opposition in the next round again. Aston Villa, best poised to face them in the quarter-finals. Maybe they get revenge for the English.
I've been here at France 24 for 15 years, and I've heard that phrase every single year since I've been here, I think. Leo, thanks a lot, Liam, agreeing with the papers for us.